Welcome to Whose Turn Is It Anyway, your board gaming podcast where we talk about games, but also we get some really interesting guests on the show. And this is an expansion pack episode. We have none other than Mark Dainty from Not Board Gaming joining myself for a chat. We're going to talk about all things Not Board Gaming, his channel, and also no doubt solo play. And let's just jump over there and so you can meet Mark and let's get into it. So, as I've just mentioned, I'm joined today with Mark Dainty from Not Board Gaming. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Hi, JP, and thank you very much for having me on as a guest on your wonderful, wonderful podcast.
Thanks, mate. I've been, it's been a while since we got you, but we got you here, didn't we?
You have, I know, and that's all down to me. You asked me maybe about 18 months, if not 2 years at the first GridCon that I went to, and yeah, for whatever reason, and etc.
Life, mate.
Just haven't aligned. Yeah.
Life, mate. It's all good.
Life,
so,
exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, we've carved out an evening. It's a Monday for us, so we just probably started work and we managed to sneak in a little evening, and we're going to chat about all things games.
Yes,
that's why you're here, right? As listeners, that's why you want to listen to us.
I thought we were going to talk about the presidential election.
Probably best not, right?
No,
maybe we'll leave that to another time. But I mean, for those that kind of don't know who you are, which I doubt, because your channel's pretty cool and your channel's out there. But for those that don't know yourself and Not Board Gaming, just a very, very, very quick.
Yeah.
What is it? What's it all about?
That's what I often ask myself, tell you the truth, when I'm making videos. But no, so Not Board Gaming is a channel I set up, I want to say around about 5 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago, as a solo gamer, and it's to cover games from a solo perspective. And that's literally all the channel does, is anything solo, any games that are soloable that I get to play and then carve the time out to actually make a video on, I will put them on the channel. So it's purely solo-based stuff that I put on Not Board Gaming, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And what we like to do with our guest, Mark, just so people kind of get to know them a little bit better, is I always like to ask these same 3 questions.
Okay.
So my first question, which is always, how did you get in the hobby? Like, where did you start?
Well,
how long ago?
Yeah, so about 5. So if the channel's been going, oh God, when did it start? The channel must have started August 19. So I started board gaming, modern board gaming. It would be round about January 2019.
Oh, okay.
So still fairly new into it.
Recently,
new into it. So, I'm of a certain age now. I'm mid-50s now. So kind of 5 years ago, I was in my late 40s. And I was working a really stressful job at the time. I was kind of working away in London, 4 nights a week in London. I live in Sheffield, so I was staying away from home all the time. And round about that time, I got diagnosed with a tumor in my parotid gland. Now, if you ever want to see a frightening picture, then go and check out what a parotidectomy is. Basically, that's literally what I had. The tumor was benign, but at the time, obviously, we didn't know. When I went to go and go all the kind of pre-operation stuff that they do, I was sat in the hospital and they took my blood pressure, and then she went, "Oh, that's strange." The nurse, she said, "Oh, that's strange." So then she took it again. She went, "Oh, have you had coffee this morning?" I said, "No." Have you been exercising this morning? I said, "No." She said, I'll just check it again. So she checked it a third time. She went, "I'm just going to go and speak to the doctor." And at that point,
this doesn't sound good, does it?
You know it's not good. Yeah. So they came back with the doctor and they took my blood pressure a 4th time. And standard blood pressure should be around about 120 over 80. Yeah, something like that. I was 215 over 120.
Bloody hell.
Knew nothing about it. Obviously, I was stressed because I got this tumor, which we thought was benign, but we didn't know anything about at the time. But I hadn't realized just how much life was literally getting in my way. I was working stupid long hours, staying away from home all the time. I was literally coming home on a Thursday or a Friday and heading back down to London on either a Sunday night or a Monday.
Yeah.
And then because of the industry I work in, I deal a lot with developers and property developers. I sell really, really, really large energy infrastructure. And these guys are on site all day. So I'd be working all day and then working, most of the night as well. So I was doing like 12-hour days constantly. And I hadn't realised that my blood pressure had got so high. So, of course, it kind of put the kibosh on having the operation for a while. I had to get my blood pressure under control. And I went to see my doctor, as you would do, because, they say, actually, if you don't do something about it, you're going to pop at any one point. And my doctor said, right, okay, obviously you need to make some life changes. And mostly what you need to do is you need to find a way to carve time out for yourself. Like really just carve some time out for yourself. Yeah. Get away from anything electronic, just get something, a hobby, whatever you can do. Yes, do loads of exercise and what have you, but get a hobby that allows you to carve time away from yourself. Now, I'd read, maybe only a couple of days before, an article on solo board gaming. And I'd seen this game called Mage Knight.
Oh, yeah.
And just prior to this, I'd ordered Mage Knight. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
So as I'm having this conversation with the doctor, Mage Knight's getting delivered to my house at this time. Yeah. So I thought, right, okay, I'm going to try this solo board gaming. My kids are, they're 20 and 18 now, so they would have been, 4 or 5 years younger than that now. But still, two girls, and they were never really been interested in board gaming.
Yeah, less interested.
My wife wasn't so interested, and of course, my friends never really been into it. And this was time for me. So I spent about 4 days learning Mage Knight, like 4 days, and I played it, and I probably played it 50% wrong, and I didn't care. I was lost myself in a board game for kind of 4 hours or something like 3 or 4 hours, whatever it was. And from that moment, I was hooked. And this became my default way of actually carving time out, taking time away from work, taking time away from all the stress, putting my phone away, putting laptop away, all that kind of stuff. Securing myself in my man cave and just having some time for me. Mm-hmm. And that was my journey into solo board gaming. And just going, I say the tumor, eventually I had the operation, I had the tumor cut out. It was benign, but that tumor actually saved my life, because had I not had the tumor, I would not have had my blood pressure taken. I would not have known I was close to popping. And I would probably not be doing what I'm doing right now in terms of what I do in the board game space. That's kind of how I got into board gaming. And then, as you can tell from what I'm saying right now and the fact I work in sales, I like to talk.
You did tell me this.
Yeah,
you did say.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I like to talk. So therefore I thought, I like the sound of my own voice. Maybe other people might like the sound of my own voice. And that's kind of how the channel started there, is just a way of kind of a bit of a creative outlet for me, if you like, just something a little bit different that allowed me to explore board gaming in a slightly different way. And it has opened up an entire friendships around the world. We had people to stay with us from America. We've been around visiting people around the world. That's me and my wife as well. And that's all come from this wonderful hobby of board gaming that I probably would have not gotten to with any kind of the depth that I've got had I not had that kind of life-changing experience with my health.
Wow, I mean that what a story, right? So that whole trigger and that decision of going, out of all the things that you could have chosen to do, right? Yeah, you could have been woodworking, it could have been gardening, it could have been like anything, but you chose board gaming, and the fact you already had Mage Knight en route, which is I mean, it's a game to get lost in, right? I mean,
absolutely, and that's it. I thought I'll give it a go, and I'll try this. It was in the article. I'll give it a go. Yeah. Man, little did I know. First of all, just what the depths of the game were, but secondly, it would lead to at the same time. Yeah,
amazing! What a great story. That's awesome. If there's any reason to game, guys, Mark's got it.
It could save your life.
It could save your life. So you should absolutely do it. Nice. So I already know the answer to this question, I think, but I'm going to ask it for the purposes of the listeners. But your favorite game ever? And the reason why I know it is because I think you recently announced it.
I did. I set the video out, and it's kind of unfair because it's a game that people don't. I know you played it, but it's a game that people don't have yet, that people are really eagerly waiting for. And up until this year, it wasn't my favorite game ever. That would have been probably Kingdom and Death Monster, which I absolutely adore, but it's almost a hobby in and of itself, Kingdom Death Monster. And then early this year, Chip Theory tend to send me most of their stuff before it comes out, so I can cover it on the channel. Got a good working relationship with Chip Theory. They sent me an early production copy of The Elder Scrolls. Now, I played this. I must have sunk now well over 60 to 70 hours into The Elder Scrolls. That's solo, that's 2-player, that's 3-player. Not played 4-player yet. And the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era has leapfrogged all of the other games, including Too Many Bones, which is probably my second favorite game of all time after Kingdom Death Monster. It's leapfrogged all of the games as the game that I would play. I get the most enjoyment out of playing. And I think that's the difference between kind of what you class as your favorite game and what is potentially the best designed game. Now, don't get me wrong. Elder Scrolls is a wonderfully, wonderfully designed game. It's very, very well designed. But I had the most fun out of any other game, out of all my games that I play, playing the Elder Scrolls, and therefore that's what makes it the best game for me. Yeah,
I can relate. I mean, like Too Many Bones is mine, and it's the same thing. And people go, JP, you love Euro games, you love deterministic Euro games, and your favorite game of all time is basically chucking a load of cubes around and smashing things to death. And I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yes.
And I can't tell you why, but it's just something it invokes. The feeling that invokes is just like, this is just such a good time.
Absolutely.
And that's a game I've played 85 times, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Right. 85 plays of Too Many Bones, which is not bad going because it's not a long. It's not a short game. As
it's
you know.
Not a short game at all. No, not at all. Even if you choose a short tyrant, one of the short tyrants, it's still a long game.
It's still a lot of hours poured in, and I've only played Elder Scrolls. I played a few training games, and then we did a full session once. I've still not had a full 3-game arc session on it, so it's really hard for me to kind of give an opinion on it because it's like I scratched the surface, mate. And I need to play more, but we've got a copy coming into a group, one of our podcast group. Rob, he's backed it, and he saved me the money this time.
Yes.
So I own all the Chip Theory games. I'm like, I'm going to back down from this one because I'm skinned, and so he's got it coming, and we'll probably no doubt get into it more next year. But now I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to getting some time off work where I can spend some more time in it as well. There's just something about the entire thing, and I say there are probably better designed games out there with more intricate mechanisms, etc. But for the sheer amount of fun per dice chuck or card flip, then it's got to be Elder Scrolls for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like you with your relationship with Chip Theory, was that something like, how did that come about? Because that's the reason I think why I came to your channel originally, is because of your Chip Theory game coverage.
Okay.
And
how'd you get that? I think what I found, because I say by nature, at school, I didn't do particularly well. I didn't go to university. I left school at 16 with 3 O-levels, way before your time O-levels, right, JP? But
I've heard of them.
They preceded GCSEs, right? Okay. With very little kind of formal training, but an ability to talk and kind of interact with people and build relationships. So I naturally moved into sales, and that's what I've done my entire life is a form of sales or another. And then when I started making content, you start speaking to people and making relations, and that's literally what it came from. I think I'd covered which game was it I covered first? It wasn't Too Many Bones. It might have been Cloud Spire. It was Cloud Spire, I think I covered. Yeah, I still haven't done a video on Too Many Bones, and that kind of irks me a little bit. Yeah.
It was your Cloud Spire video. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah. And from them, I think I met them then at Essen and had a chat with them, and then they said they would send me something along, and I can't remember what it was. It might have been Burn Cycle or something like that. And then they asked me to do some videos for when everybody was down in COVID and there were no conventions. They did a virtual convention. So I did a series of like 5 videos for their games that they played, these kind of 3-minute videos that they played through this virtual convention. And that's kind of where the relationship kind of started there. Now, I say, most cases they send me most things, not everything because they sometimes don't have it now, but they'll send me most things. And generally, I like all their games. I think there are some games that I prefer more than others, and I understand why some people might not like, say, Burn Cycle or might think Cloud Spire is too complex, but generally they make the kinds of games that I like. So it's just developed over time, and it's not just with Chip Theory. There's lots of relationships that you have out there. Yeah. And that just comes from making the time to create the relationships. And I think that's a key thing when you're got a channel, when you've got any form of outlet, whether it's a video channel, whether it's a blog, whether it's a podcast like yourself, you get more value from the relationships you make. And
100%.
that is a key thing, is just understanding how publishers work. I have good relationships with some publishers. I've had relationships with publishers who won't speak to me again because I've given games bad reviews, and that's okay as well. Mm-hmm. I'm obviously not their target audience. The thing is not to take it too personally.
Yeah.
And that's just how these relationships grow. Yeah.
Yeah. No, nice. I thought I'm going to ask him because, Chip Theory is one of my favourite publishers ever. I was like, yeah. And I just remember when we were talking, I was like, yeah, that was the video. Your Cloud Spire video was the one that got me into your channel. So there you go. There you go. Good stuff. Okay. What games then, other than your favourite game, but what games are you generally enjoying right now?
Well, so just come off the back of my second game in a current campaign of Creel Manor from Tristan Paul.
Yeah.
Have you? So I
played Gloom of Killforth, but not Creel Manor.
Right, okay. I've not played any of the Gloom games. I've played Veil Wraith in the past, but generally games that have cards as an overriding mechanism. So your kind of Arkham Horror LCG, your Marvel Champions, etc. Any form of deck building, deck construction, not my bag. I don't generally enjoy them. But Tristan sent me a copy of Creel Manor, and I don't know if you know much about it. It is a card-based game, so, it's got that not going for me. But it's a kind of progressive, I want to say dungeon crawly type game. It's not true dungeon crawl. You're exploring locations. You have certain foes coming out. You're upgrading your character as this kind of five scenario campaign plays out in front of you. And there are a number of different characters you can take and a number of different paths you can take in the story. It plays so smooth and so quick that I'm really, really enjoying it.
Oh, nice.
Don't mind the shuffling so much, and that's one of the things. I'm a terrible card shuffler. Every time I shuffle cards, I think I should watch videos on how to shuffle cards, because if you can imagine the most, I don't know, inept card shuffler in the world, that is me. Creel Manor, enjoyed that. Recently played, not solo, but I played Kelp 2-player. Mm-hmm. Did not enjoy that. I played Iron Forest 2-player as well, but you don't.
Is that the flicky?
Yeah.
Is that like Ice Cool?
Yeah, Ice Cool. Yeah. So they did the Penguin game, didn't they? Yes. Exactly right. Yeah. This is their next one, which is like on 2 levels, and you've got
I saw that.
Them up. Yeah. You know what? It's not the deepest game in the world, but we had a lot of fun playing that. And SETI, I've come off of recently. My review is going to come out shortly on that. It's not for me.
Not for you, fair enough.
Not for me. No, not for me. And I'm still trying to get through the backlog of games that I brought back from Essen. So I bought quite a few games at Essen. Which I'm still trying to get through. It's just trying to find time. So what I'm trying to do is now not take any review copies from anybody or do any kind of Kickstarter promos for anybody, just so I can actually
get through
some games for fun as well at the same time.
Nice.
Yeah. So no, Creel Manor, I've been really pleasantly enjoying Creel Manor. Oh, I'll tell you what else as well. Dungeons of Doria. Have you heard of this?
No, not heard of this one.
Right, so this is potentially as close to a D&D game as you can get. So D&D, again, fairly late life discovery for me. I've been playing D&D about 18 months, 2 years now. Every Tuesday night, go and pretend to be whatever character, etc. Dungeons of Doria, I think it's coming back out on Kickstarter later this month. It's kind of this procedural dungeon crawler, but it's more of a loot crawler. It's all about getting the loot and having a look what that loot can do for you. You've got stat sheets that kind of dictate what happens on your rolls. It's it's as swingy as all hell because you're using loads of dice in it. And I love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's really hit the nail on the head for me, that. Yeah.
Oh, no. Again, I mentioned Rob earlier. He loves all of that stuff, right? He's big into his D&D, and he's loves his dungeon crawler game. So he'll be listening to this going, rubbing his little hands together going, I've not heard of that
Dungeons of Doria.
Dungeons. So, check it out, Rob. Definitely. Yep. Nice. Okay. Well, let's get into a bit more about your channel and solo gaming, because I know that's where your kind of heart and motivations are. So we've got your intro into your channel. We've got your motivations on kind of why you started it, which is probably the best motivations for starting any kind of channel ever. I don't think anyone's going to top that, Mark. But you're obviously a big supporter of like solo gamer in general and the hobby of solo gaming.
Yeah.
And one of my, I wouldn't say favorite videos, but one of my most memorable videos that you've done, and it's a few years ago now, is where you were, I'm trying to remember it, but you were kind of picking apart some of the trolls of solo gaming and kind of just going, like, what's this gatekeepering attitude of solo gaming and the fact that some people think it's not really the hobby though, is it? And to tell you what, it pisses me off as well when people do it. So like what is it about solo gaming that, other than for you carving time out and being your kind of personal, but why is it so important?
So I think, if wind back a little bit, if you think about kind of, why people are having a front against solo gaming and think that it's not as pure as other parts of the board gaming hobby, you have a look at why the different motivators, why people do board gaming. For some, it's a purely social thing. They just want to get a group of friends together and, and play a board game. It's a way for them to interact with other people. That's not the same for everybody. Some people maybe don't have a massive group of friends. Some people may have a massive group of friends, but they don't have friends that play board games, i.e. me. Some people may have, less of an easy time kind of interacting with others, in terms of social environment, shyness or whatever. So I think what solo board gaming does is it provides an outlet for lots of people to experience the joy of board games where other options aren't available to them. And it doesn't mean that solo gamers don't have friends. The solo community is absolutely huge. Certainly on any of the forums. It is absolutely huge. And we've seen this turn, and it's happening obviously well before COVID, but certainly during COVID, there's a real drive for games, for the right games, to have a solo mode in them. And I say that because I'm a huge believer that not every game needs a solo mode as well. As much as I would love to play Twilight Imperium, I don't think I would like to play it solo.
Not for 8 hours, no.
So, I think there's a bit more work in the industry to be done about kind of clarifying exactly when you should advertise a game as kind of 1 to 4 players, etc. Maybe say it can be played solo, but you're not going to get the full experience from it. Anyway, that's a completely different discussion there. So I think solo gaming just allows people, as I say, to kind of experience board gaming for many different reasons, be that mental, be that physical, be that just because they've got time in their day, maybe they like puzzles and Sudoku and crosswords, and a solo board game becomes a kind of puzzle more than anything. If you like, it's a dynamic puzzle. I suppose like all board games are, solo potentially has less interaction than other things, so it becomes a dynamic puzzle. So there's many different reasons for it, and I think the growth of solo gaming is something to be applauded. The growth of the solo gaming community is something to be applauded. And I do still get gatekeeping comments. I'd rather play a video game. I've been playing video games since the early 80s, right? So I'm in my mid-80s. I had a ZX81.
Me too. Yeah, me too. Was it a 48K or was it 128K?
Oh, the Spectrum was it was 48, and then I managed to get the upgrade bit. Yes. 128. Yes, yeah. I had the Commodore 64. I've gone through all of the consoles.
Yeah.
And, gaming has been a kind of video gaming and computer gaming has been a large part of my life.
Yeah, mine.
But since I moved into board gaming, I spend a lot less time on that now. And I get it. Some people say, I'd just rather play a video game. That's fine. Go and do that. Doesn't mean what I'm doing and other people are doing is wrong. I enjoy the experience of setting up a board game. I enjoy the ritual. I don't so much enjoy taking it down, but I enjoy the ritual of setting up a board game.
Yeah.
Nothing I like better than everybody's gone to bed at night. I've got a brand new rule book in front of me, and I've got a glass of whiskey, nice single malt, and and it's just me and a rule book, and I'll read that until 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Be as happy as whatever, a pig in whatever there, basically.
Yeah,
so there's lots of different and looking forward to getting some time where there's nobody else in the room, and I can just spend an hour if I want to setting up a board game, understanding where the pieces and components go, referring it back to the rule book. So the whole solo thing is a huge release for me in terms of putting everything else to one side. It's a huge release for some people in having the ability to experience time away from their own four walls if they're not interacting with people. or if they don't have groups of friends that actually play board games. So I believe it has massive benefits for people doing it. Yes, it can be, like all of us, it can become obsessive at some points, but it has massive benefits for the people that want a solo board game. So therefore, when we see people like, David Turksey, David Digby, attached to games, that they're working their hardest to create a really good solo mode for that. And that gives me more kind of confidence that publishers are taking it more seriously these days, and we will start to see some of these solo interactions get even better as time goes on.
Yeah, it's for me, you hit the nail on the head for me, the ritual. And
yeah.
I play predominantly multiplayer, and I do. But there are times I probably would say 33-40% maybe of my gaming is solo.
Yep.
Which is still quite a high proportion in general terms. But just there were some evenings where I'm just like, I don't want to have that social. I don't want to call it a drain because that sounds really negative. But to entertain and have people come around your house.
Yep.
It is like it's fun, but it also is can drain your energy levels and
absolutely.
And sometimes when you've just had a full on day of work and you're like, I can't think of anything worse right now than having 4 people come around. I'm just not mentally prepared for just hosting, and then you just think, but I want a game. And actually, I want that escapism because I've been hard at work for 8, 9, 10 hours, talking and meetings back to back, etc. So now I can just carve out some. I say silence because you're probably like me when you solo game. It's rarely silent because you're talking to yourself.
I'm talking to myself all the time. Absolutely, yeah.
Just like monologuing about what you should do. Should I go there? Should I collect that resource? Should I not? And no, it didn't work. And
I'd probably swear more when I'm solo gaming than I do at any other point in my life, basically. So
but it's brilliant because it's that escapism, isn't it? Of you just get lost with yourself.
Yeah,
and it is more interactive than a film, and even though video games,
I'm not under any pressure as well. I can I can play half an hour and go away and do something else, come back and continue the game. Or I can leave it out for a night or 2 nights if I want. And, certainly in my man cave, I've had games out there for over a week where I haven't completed them because, I've gone off and done other things.
Yeah.
My wife then gets annoyed because, I've still got a game upstairs in my man cave. I'll sometimes take over the dining room at the same time as well. So I'll have 2 games on the go in the house. But,
nice.
But there's that whole thing. There's no pressure. The AP is all mine. The analysis paralysis is all mine. If I get a rule wrong, it's fine. I can either wind it back or progress the game without it.
Yeah.
It's also a very good way of, for people who's predominantly gaming through gaming groups. If there's a solo mode, it's a good way to learn some of the key mechanisms in the game as well. And again, some people will absolutely do that. They will, solo it first before they take it to a games club or games night or whatever's going to happen. And then they'll know how to play the game a little bit better from doing that. So many different reasons for many different factors. Any of the gatekeeping needs to stop.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are or what kind of game you like, just as long as you're having fun playing that game. All you want to do is play 2-handed solo Monopoly for the rest of your life, then go out there and bloody well do it and enjoy it. Yeah, exactly right. Don't let anybody tell you any different if it makes you happy.
Yeah. Exactly. You're not hurting anyone, are you? I mean,
no, not at all.
Do what you want.
No, and you're not diluting the hobby at the same time. No, not in any way, shape, or form. So
exactly. No, and it's something I feel very strongly about, which is why your video resonated.
Yeah,
and it's like I just can't believe people still have that kind of attitude. But in most of these hobbies, it is there, and lots of people. It's not just board gaming. I'm sure it's in many others as well. But
any other hobby I've ever had and probably ever will have, there'll always be a faction of that hobby that says, you're not doing it the same as me, so you're wrong.
So you're wrong, and you're like, piss off. Yeah,
exactly. As I'm nearly 54, I've gone way beyond considering, wondering and kind of worrying about what people think about what I do right now. So yes.
Oh yeah, I'm getting, as I get older, I'm getting to mid 40s now, Mark. So my tolerance level starts to reduce. I used to be a people pleaser. No, I don't care.
No.
Yeah. Just going to be a cranky old man.
Exactly. I've become the very thing that my dad was, basically. So there we go.
Love it. So going into your solo games then, have you got kind of some good examples of where the solo is done really well? Like, what are some of your favourite implementations of solo games?
So I think one of the best ones or recent ones, and I know you probably agree with this, is Voidfall.
Yeah,
right. So Voidfall works absolutely fantastic as a solo experience. You don't feel like you're losing anything from playing Voidfall solo. When you first get it, you look at all the scenarios and you think, oh, there's a lot less solo scenarios than there are multiplayer scenarios. Mm-hmm. But man, because of how that game works and how David and I can't remember who else worked on the solo with him. It might have been like John Albertson and Nick. What's Nick's second name? I forgot Nick's name now. It'll come to me. But John Albertson and Nick, etc., worked with him on that. And it just becomes an absolutely essential game. Yeah, it almost feels like you're not playing an AI, and in reality you're not, because you've got this constant threat coming for you. The Void board, I want to say, coming at you, basically.
Yeah, it's the Void board,
yeah. And have I played it with anybody else yet, Voidfall? No, I don't think I have. I think I've only ever played Voidfall solo, and I would play that solo at the drop of a hat, basically.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at a good implementation of a solo mode into a solo game, there's kind of a couple of ways to do it. First of all, there's no kind of AI, if you like. So like Voidfall, there is an AI in the Voidborn, but they're not really, you're not drawing cards or looking at decision trees, etc. They're just coming out and you're combating against them. Then you have kind of a simple deck of cards, if you like, where you're flipping over, it makes decisions for you, and you do X, Y, and Z on the back of that. And then you have the more complex ones where there's lots of decision trees.
Yeah, flowcharts.
Flowcharts, etc. I have no problem with any of those whatsoever. I'm, again, a huge believer that a game should have the solo mode it deserves. If a game can operate on a simple solo and provide you with that excellent experience, then it can be a simple solo. Some games, so you think of something like I don't know, say Nucleum, it's probably not the best example, has got a more complex solo going on in there. And I think when people first go to some of the more complex games, and maybe it's their first or one of their early attempts at a solo mode, and they see one of these complex AIs, it can be very overwhelming. Now, you and I, and certainly me, I played hundreds of these things, and therefore there's a rhythm that you get with them. But I totally understand why they can be off-putting for people. So kind of understanding what a great solo mode is all dependent on the game itself. There are some great games that have had not great solo modes, and there've been some great solo modes developed for games which aren't that good as well. To me, aren't that good as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I say huge believer in a game having the solo mode it deserves to provide you with that experience. And there are a number of different styles of solo modes, whether it is an AI, whether it's an app. I don't mind app games. I know again there's a bit gatekeeping goes on about apps, whether it's an app, whether it's an AI, or whether you're just playing against the game itself, beat your own score. As long as you're getting the good experience from it, then that's great. But people need to understand, if they're going into a game purely for solo, they need to understand about, and that's where kind of previews and reviews come in handy, is just understanding how that solo mode works, and is it the right kind of solo mode for them.
Yeah. Do I want that upkeep? Am I happy with that upkeep?
Exactly.
And, and I remember my one of my first solo experiences, which was the Chronosis bot in Anachrony. And at the time, it's like, it's quite heavy. But when I got it, when it clicked, I'm like, damn, this is so clever. How the hell does this work? And it does, and it just works. And because that was an evolution of the original,
it was.
Because actually you could then play with all the expansions.
Exactly.
Which was great.
That's Chronosis 2.0.
That's the one,
yeah. And when I play Anachrony, and generally David's Turksy is involved in the Mind Clash solo bot. So again, there's a certain rhythm that happens with them, so you can get to pass them fairly quickly. But when I play Anachrony now, and I think Anachrony is fantastic. Then, as are most Mind Clash games, one major miss for me, which was Septima, which I really didn't enjoy. But most Mind Clash games are. When you play Anachrony, that, as you say, that solo bot, it just starts singing. It really feels like you're getting the full experience of this seemingly complex game by playing solo against the Chronobot or Chronosis. Yeah,
yeah, but it's interesting you mentioned Voidfall because what they haven't done is try to replicate the multiplayer experience as a solo bot, and they've gone, you know what, we're going to do something a bit different. And whilst it kind of is sort of a beat your own score, it isn't in the way that, you know, the game is throwing knives at you constantly and you're trying to dodge those knives and react to all of the obstacles that are getting in your way. And just the way it works, it's just awesome. And even cooperatively, right? I've had people who have played the co-op going, actually, I think I prefer it.
Yeah.
Like, just because it's the same system, it's just a different set of focus cards, right? They use it, but it's so clever. And yeah, you're right. You don't need millions of scenarios because the variability is in just every time it's going to be so different anyway.
But if you want possibly the most complex solo that you can get, it's a Mind Clash game and it's Trickerion with all of the relevant expansions thrown in.
With Academy.
I think you've got to read through about 5 rule books to get the solo down on that. And I didn't play it two-handed. I jumped straight into solo on Trickerion. Again, just an absolutely amazing game, brilliant. Trickerion. But the solo is work. But the payoff is so good at the back end of it. It really is. Yeah. But boy, do you have to put the work in on there. More work than you have to put into Voidfall in terms of learning the solo.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you use like solo bots in any multiplayer games that you either play with your group? Because I know you play games with Mike, right? Mike Dennis from Ready Steady Play.
Mike Dennis from Ready Steady Play, he's just apparently earlier this year moved from London to Sheffield. So it's about 15 minutes away from me now, basically. Nice. So, I generally go around there maybe once or twice a week. We either play a new game, an upcoming game, or an old game. Have we used solo bots? I think the only time we threw one in is when I had an early copy of Andromeda's Edge, after UK Games Expo. So I know Peter Vaughan from Cardboard Alchemy, the publisher. He did UK GE. After UK Games Expo, I'd got Will Brown from Hungry Gamer. Him and his wife came to stay with us for a week.
Nice.
And Peter was spending some time in England, so he came over as well, and he brought Andromeda's Edge with him and left it with me for a couple of weeks. But we played a 5-player game with kind of Will and Peter and Peter's son and Mike, etc., myself. And then as I had the game for a few weeks, Mike and I played a few games, and we played a 2-player game and threw the bot in there as well. It worked very well, but man, did it. It messes up as well at the same time. So again, you'll get some bots and some AIs that will absolutely work in solo games, and others that will say, we've not tried the balance. So it's completely up to you as to whether you want to do it or not. But generally, if it's just Mike and I, or Mike, I, and another person, we'll not put a solo bot in there. We'll just play the game, kind of 2 or 3 players, whoever's there. Yeah.
Nah, fair enough. I mean, has there been any games where you wish, like, they had put a solo mode in for you? Any that kind of spring to mind?
It's hard, right? And I think, again, we're looking at them. So, I've never played Twilight Imperium. One of my big things that I must tick off my list at some point.
Never experienced it, right?
Never experienced it. No,
okay.
never played it.
I'll have to rectify that one day. Yeah.
So one of my things I need to do is kind of do a Twilight Imperium game. That shouldn't have a solo mode, of course, as well. Now, I have played Eclipse a few times. I love Eclipse. If there was a functional solo for that would be great. But I think the only way that could work is through some form of app, to tell you the truth, because of everything that goes on there. And then, I suppose there's some of the, like Inish. I have played Inish. I think I played a 4-player game of Inish back in the past. Really enjoyed Inish. Understand that wouldn't work as a solo game as well because the area control. But no, I think, in the main, there's certainly games that I would like to play. I would like if there was the option of a good solo mode, but the development time that would go in to make these solo modes is probably going to outstrip the kind of demand for it anyway. So it goes back to that thing before, that not every game needs a solo mode. Absolutely it doesn't. And I've said that in the past on one video, I think. Was it Pendulum? I mean, I hated Pendulum, like really hated Pendulum.
Not played it.
Don't bother. No. And really hated the solo mode on that. And I think one of my key messages in there was not every game needs a solo mode.
Right.
And that is a key one for it. It just did. Well, that game didn't need to be a game, but didn't need a solo mode at the same time as well. But no, I think, I'm kind of happy there's games. There's games that I would like to play, but that would be the experience of the people. But in terms of what's happening now in the industry, how solo is becoming a viable option for companies, for publishers, I think we're in a really good place. Just really want to be mindful that they don't just throw a solo mode in. Just for the sake of throwing a solo mode in, and then advertise the game as 1 to however many players.
Yeah.
If your solo mode's half-baked, stick it on a file on BGG and tell people, look, there's the option to play it solo. Here's the free files you can have on BGG, but we're not selling it as a solo game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It needs the proper development time for it, and actually needs proper testing, needs proper evaluation and stuff, doesn't it? Yeah, like, there's nothing worse than a crap solo mode. Because you'll play it once and just go, nope.
Exactly that.
Never doing that again. That was rubbish, and we've all been there. Yeah. Have you ever got involved in any kind of designs or helped develop any solo modes for any kind of previous games?
No, and I wouldn't class myself as I wouldn't even think that I could class myself. There's people far better at doing that kind of stuff than me. I've given input on stuff. I did one recently this week for a game which is currently on Kickstarter. Played the solo mode for that. Gave some input back on it, but in terms of kind of no, I'm not analytical enough to understand the kind of all the logic behind what one decision would impact the others. That takes people far cleverer than me. So happy to tell people whether it works or not. Happy to tell people what I think is either missing or works very well.
I can't tell you how.
Maybe if you could think about doing X, Y, or Z, then that could work. But no, game development and certainly game design it's something I'll leave to the people that are good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Myself, yeah.
People ask me, they go, "Oh, because they go, oh, you love board games, JP, and you're in the hobby and stuff. So you ever thought about making your own?" I went, I don't think I've got the power. I just don't think I could do it because it's like you've just got to have the right mindset for it, and obviously some people outside of the hobby, they're probably just thinking of the usual staples that they know or have heard of, and it's like
roll and move kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly. Like, so I can do those. I did those as a kid. Like I think I made like 17 roll and move games that were all pretty tosh and not great. But like to play the games I like playing, no, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like,
I think if you like anybody in any hobby, if you read books, you probably thought of a novel idea. If you play board games, you've probably got one floating around in your head that'll never see the light of day in any way, shape, or form. And I think the world will be better off for not getting my any of my thoughts out in the open. Yeah.
That's fair enough. Cool. Okay. So what we're going to do now, Mark, is I'm going to move on to what we call our little niche number one section. So niche number ones is some episodes we did. We haven't done one for ages, and we'll have to revive it. But it's basically where we kind of think of obscure and weird categories and then go, what's your favourite game within that?
Great.
Yeah. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
But because it's a podcast, and if you take a while to answer, I'll just cut that out.
Yeah, the editing. Make me sound snappy. Make me sound like I know what I'm talking about.
I absolutely will. So if you get stuck, just let me know, and we'll I'll just spin on and find some other ones. So yeah, I'm going to give you 3, and let's just see what comes up. Right?
Okay.
Put you on your toes. So what's your favourite game that you wish you could play over again, like if it was your first time? So you had your memory wiped and you've picked this game up and gone and experienced it again for the first time. Which one would it be?
You know what? I think that probably would be Mage Knight. It was my first game.
Well, that's so important to you, right? That game.
Yeah, it is. It's never leaving my collection. I don't play it nowhere near as much as I want to play it. It's not a perfect game, but just the journey it took me on from reading that rule book over 2 or 3 days, whatever it was, and to setting the game out and playing it and thinking, wow, yeah. And that's what it gave me. It was that real wow moment. And you think about the daddy of solo games. Now, I know people, you look at the BGG kind of top solo board games every year. And Spirit Island's up there at number 1.
Yeah.
Spirit Island probably wouldn't feature in my top 50, to tell you the truth. I'm not a huge Spirit Island fan. I get why people love it. A wonderfully designed game. Some great mechanisms in there.
Yeah, not for me.
Doesn't work for me in any way. But Mage Knight, I don't think... I've had games that give me wow. You're Too Many Bones, your Kingdom Death Monsters, but Mage Knight for me just wow. And I actually met Vladimir Battle as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Very first time I went to Essen, went to Paul's meet and greet.
Yeah. I
spent the entire night sat, and bear in mind, the channel 2 months old at this point. I've been playing less than a year, and I'm sat next to Vladimir Battle for like 4 hours, and we were just talking,
just fanboying. This is great.
I think Paul was like, because I barely knew Paul. We'd only had a couple of interactions over email at that point, Paul Grogan, and Paul said, people were like, "Who's that guy talking to Vladder?" And I was like,
That's Mark.
At that point, he's got a channel with about 8 followers. Yes, you
got to start somewhere, haven't you? You got to start somewhere.
So, because I haven't played Mage Knight for kind of probably the best part of a year now, I know the next time I set it out, I'm going to have that wow moment all over again. Yeah. And I'm still probably going to play it only about 85% correctly as well. And I don't care. I really don't care. Matter. Yeah.
Nice. All right, let's look at another one. Shall we go with, the favourite game that you like, but you don't know why? You don't quite know why you like it, but you do.
Okay, that would be Fortune and Glory.
Oh, yeah, I've not played it.
All right, okay.
It's like the Indiana Jonesy kind of thing.
Exactly that. Yeah, the people that did Touch of Evil, etc. It's got the photorealistic artwork on there. Yeah. You're moving around the continents. It's pretty much roll and move.
Yeah.
Lots of decks of cards going on all over the place. You're traveling the globe, getting relics, getting treasures. It's a pure B movie of a game, and I absolutely adore it. Nice. I just think it's absolutely fantastic. I think there's a second version that's been released, but the version I got came with a CD soundtrack in it as well. Now, I haven't had a CD player for God knows how many years, but like everybody, so that's gone unplayed. It is the B-moviest of all B-movie games you're ever going to play, and it's just glorious. It is like watching, I don't know, what's one of my favorite B movies from the 80s. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's like watching a Red Dawn or an old Schwarzenegger film or something like that. It's just that. It's Indiana Jones, the movie, has a class of all its own, so it's not quite B movie, but
Fortune like Romancing the Stone or something. With Michael Douglas.
What was those? There's Quatermass and things like that came out in the 80s as well. Yeah, so it is a poor man's Indiana Jones, and it's all the better for it, down to the shonky production values, the roll and move mechanisms, the sheer look and swinginess of the game, and I would play that any day of the week because I never have anything less than an absolutely fantastic time when I'm playing it. That's cool. Will be for not everybody because of the pure random nature of it as well. So you've got to love chucking dice. If you love chucking dice, then go and check out Fortune and Glory. It's just so much fun.
Fair play. All right, last niche number one question then for you, Mark. Your favourite game that you should sell, but you can't bring yourself to do it.
So I am terrible at selling games. Like, I've had a stack of 40 games in my man cave stacked up thinking, right, I need to sell these.
Yeah.
It's been there a year now, and I still haven't sold them. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I've had games where I bought a copy and the publisher sent me a copy. So I've got 2 copies of the game, and I still haven't sold either copy of those games yet. My wife is starting to get a little bit antsy about things now, and in the back of my head, I'm thinking, maybe I just go and rent out a storage unit until I get around to selling them. I'm like, no, why are you going to just sell the bloody games?
Pay money to store the games I need to sell to make some money.
Any profit I would get from them would be wiped out from that. So my favourite game that I should sell, but I probably won't. Well, that's a tough one, that. I'm going through all of my games. All right, okay. Oh, no, it's not a favourite game. I don't even enjoy it that much, but so I'm not going to choose that one. Okay, I've got it.
Yeah.
Okay, Gloomhaven.
Okay. Yeah.
When I first learnt about Gloomhaven, obviously still relatively in the hobby, I thought, this is the game that I'm going to play for months. This is a game I'm just going to throw myself. Cannot wait to get it. And it was out of stock, and then I managed to order it, and I got it, and I played 5 scenarios, and I was like, I am so done with this game right now. I am so done with this game right now.
Yeah.
Do you know how done I was with Gloomhaven?
Go on.
I bought Frosthaven.
That's going to fix all of it. That's going to be so much better.
But actually, it does. I think my biggest problem with Gloomhaven was the fact going back to the town of Gloomhaven had no real agency.
Yeah.
And I think that it became this kind of disconnected events, if you like. Frosthaven does fix that by doing stuff in the town.
Yeah.
So I'm now kind of 7 scenarios into Frosthaven, having a far better time with Frosthaven than I am with Gloomhaven. I can't bring myself to sell Gloomhaven because think, right, in this weird world where I'm actually going to complete Frosthaven. Again, never going to happen. But I think, right, once I've done Frosthaven, I'm going to go back and start Gloomhaven because I didn't tear any of the cards. I kept them all in an envelope. I'll go back and start Gloomhaven and I'll have a really good time with it. So I've got 2 massive boxes.
They're so big.
Okay, that are sitting up there, neither of which I've touched in probably 10 months now, yeah? Thinking in the back of my mind, all right, yeah, I keep both of them because I enjoyed Frosthaven. I really want to get back into it. And when I've done that, it's just not going to happen. No. And I just need to sell both of them.
And move on.
Just move on. But I cannot bring myself to get rid of either of them, basically. So, yeah.
They're all hefty, though. And I mean, they're big games in size and scale. So it's just that whole... And I hate selling games. I think a lot of people in the hobby hate selling games because of just the process of doing it. You're either waiting for a convention and you go, you know what, I'm going to just put them in the bring and buy, which means I don't have to think about boxes. I need to get boxes. I need to organise shipping and all that. And which is what I do. So I kind of have this annual clear out, usually around GridCon, because it's like the closest convention. I don't have to kind of shunt all these boxes around. So I have this annual clear out, and that's kind of how I do it. But every now and then I do kind of sell them on trading groups, or depending on what they are, right? But I don't enjoy the process of it.
No, me neither. And I've seen there's a couple of companies out there now that will do bulk purchase of collections. And I think, you know what, for the sake of just getting rid of them, I'm going to take a hit on it. Yeah. But I cannot be arsed with boxing, taping, taking them down, getting the calls back saying, oh, it's missing,
it's missing a card.
Missing a card. And like, yeah, okay, right, here's £5 off it. Yeah, whatever, I don't know. So just let somebody bulk buy them. Yeah.
Wicked. Okay, so I'm going to ask you one last question.
Okay.
Which is just, what are you looking forward to? What's coming up that you're like really excited for? Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is one that you will know, and because you're teaching it this next weekend, is Revenant from MyClash.
Yes.
So again, generally with MyClash games, they will send me through early copies to kind of do preview material on, etc. Not had one for Revenant because I don't think the solo mode was fully developed for it by the time. But by the time it needed to go to kind of content creators, but I did play a 4-player game, well, 3/4 of a 4-player game at Essen with Alan Kirkby, the designer.
Yeah.
Really, I think that is a fantastic addition to the Voidfall kind of universe without replicating Voidfall.
Yeah, nothing like it.
It's very much its own game.
Yeah.
But you'll recognize some of the stuff from there in terms of the icons and what happens in the game.
Yeah.
Really, really looking forward to seeing what happens with Revenant, how it pans out. I know you're demoing it this weekend, are you? Though?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Teaching it.
Yeah, Friday, I think. Yeah, Friday at GridCon, yeah.
So there's that. There's Captain's Chair, which you've got a copy, and I don't yet. So, which is, for a card game, probably the most complex card game that anybody's going to play in terms of a 2-player card game, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it's a game that's got a lot of depth there, but I'm really looking forward to kind of, seeing what the final version looks like. And I was speaking to David the other day about it. So you're going to bring me a copy then to GridCon? He said, I haven't even got a copy.
I know.
Yet. So,
Paul Grogan, right? So for our listeners, I've managed to get an advance copy because basically Paul's ordered in 12 early copies from WizKids, and because he's winning a tournament over GridCon, right? And I've got in on this tournament, and also I've been helping out with the streams on his channel. So I've picked up my copy early because he's had them for past 3 weeks. So I managed to get the copy. So yeah, I think there's me, there's Paul with his copies, and Rado. I think are the only ones that we've got. Even David and Nigel Buckle, we haven't even got our copies yet. And there's me just playing all the decks and stuff. So yeah, I've been having fun chats with David to about that, and but I'm looking forward to people experiencing it because I'm a big fan of Imperium. I've always enjoyed that game. and I kind of get lost in it. And it's probably one of my favourite solo games, just for the reason I just get completely lost in the system. So now they've made a Star Trek kind of version of it, which is different as well.
It is.
It's not just a reskin, as we know. It's a completely kind of different game. It uses the same system, but
yeah. Which it had to be for me, and David knows this. I don't like Imperium.
Oh, okay.
No, I've tried it a few times, and I've not tried the new. Was it the revised rules or Horizons? Yeah. But no, I'm not an Imperium fan, and David knows this. So when I played Captain's Chair with him, I was really surprised. Not just that I liked it, that I absolutely thought it was fantastic. Basically.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So for me, it's if you like the Imperium system, it's definitely got that in there.
Yes.
But if Imperium as game didn't grab you, there's enough differences to make it its own game.
I completely agree.
I suppose. I think the recent thing is Andromeda's Edge, which isn't, it's like Dwellings of Elverdale, but it's not Dwellings of Elverdale. There's enough in there. It shares some DNA,
yes.
But it's its own game. And that's the same with Captain's Chair and Imperium. Different publishers, obviously, but the core mechanisms are the same, but I have far better time with Captain's Chair than I've had with Imperium. So,
that's great, though, because I think that system has been, I say streamlined, but not through, like, it doesn't lack the depth at all. If anything, it's got more.
More depth, I would say. Yeah.
It's a more crunchier experience, and you think, Christ, like and Imperium's not exactly a light game.
No, it's not.
But it's just the way that the rule set works. It feels more fluid, and it's awesome. I'm like, come on, David, when's the next box coming out? Because now I've got my copy. And I'm like, the next set of characters.
You want the next set of characters?
Absolutely. Keep going, guys. But
I'm not a Trekkie by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
I am not a Trekkie. I've seen some of the films, not all of the films.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't know Next Generation from whatever any of the others are called. There we go. You see. But again, if you're a Trekkie, you're going to love it. If you're not a Trekkie, there's enough depth there to make it really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So there's two games. We got Revenant and we got Captain's Chair. I think Mr. Turksy will be very happy that they're both obviously Turksy related. I can only imagine he's doing the solo mode for Revenant.
I'm sure he is. I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah.
And then we got GridCon, right, which is literally this weekend. Although the time this episode comes out, we would have had it, and it would have been
had it already. Yeah, we're time traveling right now.
It's the wibbly wobbly podcast recording and release schedule. But no, I'm looking forward to GridCon. It'd be nice to catch up with you, Mark, and hopefully maybe get a game. That'd be great. We always say this, but it's time and. I'm demoing, and there's all things going on. But
I'm doing one demo. I'm demoing Elder Scrolls.
Oh, you're doing the Elder Scrolls, are you? Oh, no. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Are you getting to play it, or are you just helping to?
I'm just teaching it to 4 people, I think it is. Yeah. I don't mind. I get enjoyment from watching people enjoy the game, so that's fine. Yeah,
me too. No, brilliant.
I might come and steal Revenant from you at some point, though. That's fine.
Go for it. So. Yeah, well, to be fair, like from the demo on Friday, it'd be there, wouldn't it? So I'm sure Paul will let you have a little copy.
I'm sure he might do. Yeah, he might do. Yeah. Paul and I kind of know each other.
Exactly. You'll be fine. But no, look, I'd say massive thank you for tonight, Mark. It's been really great to catch up with you and have a chat all things gaming and solo gaming. And it's been fun. And I really appreciate your time.
No, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to speak to you. As always, it is JP, you and the rest of the crew. Always very friendly people. And
we try.
Obviously, having met you in person, I can absolutely understand why you do a podcast now as well, basically. So you've all got faces for radio.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I'm joking.
No, it's true. That's why we don't do a YouTube, mate. That's why. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thanks, JP.
Cheers. Well, there we go. That was a good chat with Mark. And we just want to say thank you for listening to the show. It's been really good to have you along with us. If you've enjoyed the show and you want to share it with one of your friends or one of your gaming group, then please share this episode with them if you think they would enjoy the content. You can support the show through Ko-fi, which is Kofi, and Yeah, any amount of support is gratefully received. We use the funds to help kind of level up the podcast, keep it running, and, you know, just helping to kind of shape the future content. So it's all really good, and we really, really appreciate it. And if you want to get in contact with the show, you can engage with us on various different ways through social media or directly on our email, all of which you can find within our show notes. But what's left to say is, whose turn is it?